It's Anne-Marie from Child Life Therapy. I've been absent in this format of YouTube video for a few days. Um, yeah, I find it comes in these little waves over whether I want to talk about Blake Lively at all these days. And even today, I'm not really pulled to talk about her. And I think it's probably because I've been kicked myself up the butt and I've been doing more of my spiritual practices again. So I've been being a good girl in some ways. But there's like, it's worth touching on a couple of little things. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the Taylor Swift stuff as well. So clearly it's been a weird time, hasn't it? Because you know, the other day when got that notification about a lot of Jen Abel's stuff had been bounced out of her case, where she's defending herself in a cross complaint against Stephanie Jones. I thought when that came through, I thought, oh, I don't believe this. um, and that's why I think sometimes it's a good job, like I've seen said before, not to just jump straight on the internet and talk about it and bemoan it and just wait till more facts come in and you get a handle on it. And what it seems now, like maybe, I mean, she's got an opening as Jen able to come back and reformulate her argument a bit. She's not adequately pleaded damages, as often seems to be the case in these things, that they almost seem to forget about proving where our actual damages are. And Blake's kind of guilty of that. She kind of wants these treble damages and all of that, but she's not making a good case as yet. And given it, bearing in mind that she wants damages now or wants to start that process, she's not made a case so far as to, what financially that looks like. I mean, and physically, because as you know, she didn't want medical records to be perused through. She didn't want to give over information about her businesses at all and her sales or anything like that. So yeah, so Jen Abel, it would seem, has done sort of a similar thing or couldn't plead it above the whatever it was. It didn't look like more than 5 grand's worth of trouble, and I think you're just supposed to take that on the chin, apparently. But yeah, it might have had, from what I understand, it might have had a backhanded actual benefit to the Baldoni lively side of things because it clarifies the argument and it kind of takes away from the idea that there was more of a conspiracy on Justin's side. So it might actually make things better in that way. I mean, I guess it's a similar scenario to what happened to Justin himself. Um, and I'm glad I didn't try and dial into the phone call the other day. It sounds like it was an entirely frustrating experience for people. Although it would have been nice to hear Kevin Fritz's and Charles Babcock's voices, I guess. But yeah, it was kind of a bit of a non-event in the end. I think people kind of got excited and we thought it was going to be something, but it's a lesson to learn, isn't it? About if you have a court case going on in your own life as well. Seldom when you think it's going your way or it's getting a bit exciting or it feels like it's coming to a conclusion, seldom does it go that way. So don't get your hopes up, basically. So yeah, he didn't want to deal with the motion for judgment on the pleadings, did he? He's pushed it back to coincide with the deadline for summary judgment arguments. And I know a lot of the lawyers are kind of saying, well, it's quite surprising to hear that Blake might be going for a summary judgment moment because that's very unusual for a plaintiff because plaintiff usually want their day in court and judges and courts generally tend to allow them, they try to give them every chance to get their day in court as such. And I guess that's why Lyman's possibly giving her some grace here. He seems to have given her an awful lot of grace. But yeah, it's like, again, it's that thing of a lot's happened and nothing's happened. And I just wasn't pulled to talk about it. And I've been working, of course. I was dealing with a little girl the other day who's 10 years old with a fear of bees and wasps. So I had her mother sit in this chair right here while I was just literally working with her just there. And it's so interesting to watch it while you're watching somebody else's perspective on the hypnosis happening as well, especially when it's a little girl and you see them go from like tension in the faces and worry when you're talking about these things, because it's bees and wasps is kind of easy to deal with, but it's also tricky because bee is not a horrible sounding word, but you can't really find a nice way to phrase the word wasp. So eventually you have to phase out the actual word itself and just talk about the insects in a different way. So it was when you're dealing with kids, you use a lot of hypnotic metaphor stories and things like that as well. And we went into the controlling room in her mind and upgraded her bravery around these little yellow and black flying insects and things like that. But it was, yeah. So I have been working, I've been doing real work. And I haven't got across the entire Taylor Swift album yet, but it kind of is interesting, isn't it? So there's, obviously a lot of people were waiting to see how much of this was about Blake Lively, but I think you've got to realize that Taylor Swift is always playing a game. She knows what people want. She loves all of this uh, storm that it causes, and she kind of just plays about with it. She's like a cat in essence. She toys with you, doesn't she? She kind of is like dangling a little string and stuff and giving you little nibbles. And I think most of the songs are probably about an amalgamation of people on this new album, The Life of the Showgirl. But what I did think was a little bit interesting, and it might be just looking for something where it isn't there, but a lot of people assumed this Fate of Ophelia song, the first single, was going to be about Blake, seeing as she portrayed a character called Ophelia in the movie Savages. And it may or may not be in some aspects. But yeah, I'm just going to share my screen for a second and bring this up, because I did find this interesting when I first saw clips of the music video before it came out, and I saw a clip of one of the dresses Taylor was in. I thought, oh, that reminds me of this dress of Blake Lively's. If you take a look at that dress, I'll bring it up a bit. I don't think I need it. It's big enough, isn't it? But now, I know that's black, but it's a very similar thing, isn't it? But it wasn't so much this dress that I saw on the video, it was this one. I thought, that's really quite interesting. I mean, I know, there's lots, when you're talking about Showgirl, there's lots of different dresses you could go for, isn't there? Different looks. But I did find it interesting that two of them shared a certain similarity with that, particularly the third one when she's got this, I don't know what you called it. I know like she wore these in for the Karma song in on the Eras tour, she had a fluffy jacket or sparkly jacket like this. But I just thought, yeah, it's not a stretch to say that might have a little connotation, is it really? That might be a little something, a little nod to something. And so the other thing was the song cancelled, and people were looking at the lyrics and saying, um, is this Blake? And again, what I get from this, what I feel from this, is that it feels more like it's more like Taylor's own self. I don't know how to word it for the best. It's like her alter ego having fun with the idea of her being a slightly naughty or a slightly shady character. It's sort of thinking back into that that character people gave her around the Reputation era, where she was, supposed to be sly and sneaky like a snake and all of that. I read it as more a bit of that. I think it might be a slight nod to it. People say that it might be a slight nod to Brittany Mahomes, who had a bit of a cancel episode, I think, when she liked a Trump tweet or something like that, was it? And it's like her life was suddenly over as these things go. You can't really, it's like sometimes I have to be so careful when I'm on here, because sometimes I'm way too blunt in real life. Oh dear. I'm very sweet and very blunt at the same time. It's like I laugh at myself these days. Because just the dual aspects of me just make me laugh, really. I'm super sweet and I'm also don't mess with me. I'll take an awful lot, but if you push me to that point, it's like you'll wish you'll wish you hadn't, basically. And I feel a bit like that with Taylor. I mean, there's lots of nods where you could say it was Blake. Did your girl boss too close to the sun? And I know Candice Owens was saying, "Oh, I called it that. I said that, she was girl bossing too close to the sun." Um, and people allude to Blake was a spokesperson for Gucci at one point. Um, and the ones with the matching scars, is that matching plastic surgery scars, that Blake's remaining friends are the ones that have matching plastic surgery scars? Who knows? I mean, literally everybody in Hollywood, even the ones that you never thought would have plastic surgery, have had plastic surgery now. It's few and far between, isn't it? And it's clearly obvious when you get the ones that are like Amelia Clark. Who else isn't doing it? Kate Winslet and those kinds of person. There's a clear demarcation these days between who is doing it and who isn't doing it. And so many of them actually, it made me laugh the other day when I think some of the actresses had come out over that AI actress that is being repped by or is looking for a talent agent. Is it, whoever's created it is looking for a talent agent for it. Tilly something or other. Is it Tilly Norwood? Something like that. So this AI actress. And it kind of made me laugh when some actresses were coming out and saying what a bad thing it is. And of course, it is a bad thing. We don't want AI people taking the place of actresses. But in essence, many actresses now are turning themselves into something that's not unlike AI. It's certainly getting to the point now in our TV and movies where we're like, there's a bit of a lack of expression going on here, and everybody's starting to look a bit too they're either looking rather ghostly and scary, especially when they do that buccal fat removal thing. I cannot understand why anybody does buccal fat removal. That's the beauty of being young, isn't it? Having that extra padding in your cheeks. You need that for when you get older, and they're all sucking it out in the 20s, honest to God. And some of them, it's making the jaws look as the biggest part of the head, isn't it? Anyway, I don't know how I'm getting onto that. But yeah, it made me laugh that actresses, are so concerned about what's not real when they're actually making themselves really not look real these days, and starting doing it really young as well, which is kind of scary. And it's like, it's so tedious now, isn't it? How much alike everybody looks and how they're all morphing into each other. Yeah, you've got to love somebody like Amelia Clark, whose face is so expressive, and even Emma Watson, whether you like her or not, or whether you agree with what's going on and what's being said, at least she's getting some laughter lines and some brow wrinkles and stuff like that. She doesn't seem to be, messing with herself just yet, does she? So yeah, so this, who knows with this? It could be, just looking at these lyrics. Did you make a joke only a man could? You see, you could almost say, is that the SH accusation? Because it's almost saying a man could get away with something on that level, but you couldn't get away with something on that level, not without any proof. Were you just too smug for your own good? I feel like that could be slightly Blake tinted. Some people do say that this was written. I think the saying, maybe the writing of it doesn't correlate with what's happened to Blake, but I don't know, because I imagine Taylor was aware quite early on, either if not the back end of 2023, certainly in early 2024, that there was a problem here. It just depends when she was recording it. Some people are saying, did she record it during the Eras tour, this album? So we kind of need clarification, really. I don't think we can hang it on any one thing, but certainly some of the lyrics would kind of stand up to being about Blake, I would think, but I don't think I'd want to go too far and say that. What I did find interesting about the Fate of Ophelia song, that because Meghan, I feel a bit the same. It's a similar thing to what happened to Meghan Markle in a way. Although I know, like with Meghan Markle, we kind of take it with a pinch of salt, most people. But you do have to give her credit that she kind of landed Prince Harry when she'd kind of gone off on a girls' holiday and had decided, I'm done with men, drawing a line on it, I'm just focusing on my own life. Next thing, she bags a prince. Now, whether Meghan Markle is a good person or not, you got she had some manifestation powers, didn't she? She got where she wanted, and I feel a bit this way with Taylor and Travis, and I do feel like it's a genuine relationship. I know some people cast aspersions on it, but it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because she's like girl boss and this like feminist aspect, isn't she? Which I don't always agree with. I don't class myself as a feminist, but I do find it interesting that the sort what you might call a bit girly men that she's dated in the past that are sort of a bit more, I don't know what the right word is, ethereal. They're not like manly men. That's, I feel like Taylor's previous relationship, she was the stronger personality. And that doesn't work for you long term. It's like with Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. I think you can carry it for so long, but sooner or later, the man, even though he's no more stronger than he was when he started, he starts to resent you if you're a strong woman. I think it just as the relationship gets older, it becomes more and more of a problem. And I think what I found interesting about Fate of Ophelia is that early in the lyrics she goes, I pledged allegiance to me, myself, and I, right before you lit my sky up. And I just thought, yeah, that's it, isn't it? When you decide to let everything go, that's when the thing that you want actually shows up, when you make that space for it. And there's an argument to be said that Taylor just went from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship. And when I say that, I'm not saying that she was putting herself about. It's just that's what many people do, man and woman. They don't like to be alone, so they just go from person to person to person. I mean, she's not really been single in an awful long time, has she? But did there come like a moment in her life when she split up with Joe and then that Matty Healy? I mean, that would have been the tin hat on anything as far as I'm concerned. I'd have stuck off dating for a lot longer than Taylor did. But did she draw a line from the sounds of it and say, right, that's it, I'm focusing on me and my tour and all of that? And she went, and next thing, in walks the uber masculine, according to the song would, if we didn't guess that for ourselves in the first place. Travis, who is both a friend and clearly somebody that she's very attracted to. But I've mentioned it before in a video some time ago, allows her to relax and let go and let somebody else lead, feel safe with them. Because previous boyfriend, she's had to be in charge all the time. I think that was the thing. She was the driving force behind it. Whereas here, she can actually have some downtime and have a rest. I mean, she's even alluding to that now, isn't she? That this album, she'll be getting on and planning a wedding and no doubt getting straight on with having a baby or two, seeing as I presume she's intending to have children according to the song lyrics on the album. But yeah, that was my message to you today, really, was this thing of sometimes we're carrying so much. It's like I did it to myself an awful lot in my life. I've kind of drawn a line now with my relationships because I have always thrown myself into somebody else's problem and taken it on. And I've always thrown my own life under the bus, and I was brought up that way. I was brought up to do that from very young, to take on jobs that other people had cast off that were older than me. It wasn't a question of do you want to do this, it was you are doing this, and it doesn't matter what you feel about it. And it's like if you don't address that or ever recognize it, you carry it on through all the rest of your life. Let me stop sharing because I'm not talking to you, am I, properly? So yeah, just recently I've drawn a similar line whereby I am not going to keep friendships in my life where I'm driving it, where I'm always the one checking in and saying, are you all right? Do you need help? I mean, I made a big mistake recently when I took on Etienne for a while. because I knew that I didn't want a dog. It's not that I don't love dogs. I bred and showed dogs for 20 odd years, so dogs are my thing. But when my last dog died, like about 18 months ago, I knew that I had to not have a dog for a while. So I knew, even though I felt like I had to help my friend, that I should take Etienne on, especially because she was related to my last dog. But I knew I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it to, it's like sort of out of a savior complex type of thing. And I've done that before for people. When I moved up here to Scotland, I very quickly met somebody who was in a dire situation and did my best to help them and really got them, significantly helped. But I kept getting attacked every so often when their own problems came to the fore and they had like a panic or whatever and attacked me because I was the only person available to be attacked. And I accepted these things in the past just to have some form of friendship because I've always felt very different. I've always like pushed the envelope, thought differently, wanted to understand all of the ins and outs of things. And that can sometimes mean what I find, and like what many people who are also INFJ personality types are, which apparently I am when I took the test. But you will often have people come to you that kind of utilize you because you are useful and you're a good sounding board and all of the rest of it. But then when they have what they need, they go off and just get on with their own lives and you're kind of left to yourself. And that has been a thing in my life. I can totally identify with that. So it does kind of leave you think, like one of the, I think, I don't know if I've said it before on here, but a friend of mine once said to me, I think I probably have said it on here before, she was regaling me with everybody else's troubles. And I said, and what she'd done in terms of calling them and aiding them and all of this. And I said, I've really needed help too. Why do you never sort of reach out to me? And she said, but I never have to worry about you because you're so strong. And it's like it was just so irksome at the time. It's like just because somebody's strong and they carry their own problems and they get on with it because they feel like they have no choice other than to do that doesn't mean that you shouldn't reach out and ask if everything's okay and do you need some help. So I have always had these relationships in my life, and that's what I want to kind of highlight to you, where you might feel like you're making all the running and you're always the one reaching out. And you feel like you kind of have to do this, like there's a sense of responsibility, but there's also an underlying thing of, if I let this go, then will I have anybody? Will anybody be interested in me? Will anybody be bothered? And I come from a family where they don't pick up the phone and just call somebody just to ask how they are or anything like that. They'd rise to the occasion if something blew up and, there was a calamity. But as for just checking in on how somebody's feeling and that doesn't happen. But yeah, but what I have done now is just drawn this line that I'm not settling for breadcrumbs anymore. I'm not throwing myself under the bus. If I have to sit here completely on my own and only have you guys to talk to, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And even if it feels uncomfortable, and in fact, especially if it feels uncomfortable, I'm just going to sit with it and do my little practices that keep me nicely ticking along. And I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I'm going to keep working on my business, keep working on my spiritual side of things. I do a course in miracles. What else do I do? I'm getting into human design now. I can see a point shortly where I'll probably start training in that, as well as all the various hypnotherapy methods I have. But I'm just enjoying being selfish, if you like. And when I say that, it's not like I'm living this super glamorous lifestyle and treating myself to all manner of things. I'm simply sitting with myself as a priority in the discomfort, in when it feels good, in the times when I feel, I don't know what to fill up my time with, I don't know what to do after I've exhausted like all efforts of learning something or working or whatever it is, and I'm like twitching and all the rest of it. I'm like, no, I'm just sitting with this. I'm not going to grab onto breadcrumbs or these like ribbons that fall away or whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of what I just wanted, the message I wanted to give you today, really, is just, if the good thing is never coming, if your manifestation is never happening, you do have to make space for it. And right now, there might be so many things in your life that are cluttering the way that you're investing your time and your attention and your focus on, that are actually probably possibly quite toxic or are very much one-sided or whatever it is, and the universe is going, oh well, they seem to be invested in that right now. They don't want that good thing they asked for like 6 months ago or a year ago or whatever, because the focus is entirely off it. They're clearly not prioritizing themselves. They want to put all their attention onto these baddies in the life or whatever it was, or you have to just be present with yourself. And I think that's kind of maybe what you have to take from Taylor, more than whatever Blake Lively is to do with anything, is just to pick up on that little thing. Is like, what did she say again? Let's read it again. I pledged allegiance to me, myself, and I right before you lit my sky up. And I think that's the thing. You have to create that pause, that space, that line in the sand, and just sometimes sit in discomfort and in something new, and be a little hermit if you have to be a hermit. And I'm not saying not do anything at all, because clearly I show up on social media every day and I make these videos and I email my subscriber list and all the rest of it. But other than that, I'm not making myself available to nonsense, basically. And if people don't want me in their lives, I'm not going to go crawling after them and beg for anything either. And that might be what you want. You need to think of as well. How many people are you, because for some people it's their children, that once children are grown up, they don't contact you anymore, do they, unless something's gone wrong. And that can be really painful, especially like for like divorced mums, I think, or even dads. Sometimes dads have had it as well, that have maybe raised the children or been a big part in the children's lives, and they feel like all their energy went there, and suddenly you get into your 50s or whatever, and it's like, what is my life now? I don't know who I am other than a mum or a dad, and now they never call me, and sometimes you might have to, you know, just be that bit selfish when they do come around and they're wanting this, that, and the other. And, make a life for yourself in the meantime, and don't necessarily be readily available. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but you deserve a life too. You have to think back to your own childhood and get a little snapshot of yourself in your own mind when you were a kid. What did you want for that kid? What did you aspire to be when you were the age you are now? How do you honor your own, the child inside you, not just the children you've gone on and had? Your life matters too. You have to take all of this into account. But yeah, sometimes you definitely to draw that line in the sand, and you might have to lose things that you don't want to necessarily lose in order to make space. I mean, we've rehomed Etienne, and that wasn't a particularly easy decision, and I felt a lot of guilt about it. But I just knew it wasn't right for me. Um, it wasn't for me right now in the situation I'm in, and the freedom I need to have, and the selfishness I need to have as well right now. Because what happens to me is when I have dogs, is all my focus goes there, and all that, and their needs come first, and their routine and their structure, and my structure goes out of the window. So in order to like fulfill my purpose and help more people and grow this business, I have to be serious about it, and I have to not treat it like a hobby. And you might have something similar in your life too. So yeah, I didn't want to do much of a Blake Lively update today, because it just really feels like a lot of nonsense right now. And it's kind of seriously annoying, isn't it, that the New York Times are suing Justin. And I just didn't want to linger too much in the energy of these people who think they're so smart and doing these things, that, oh, it's just so toxic to put yourself into the mindset of the people who think this is okay behavior when they're the ones that started the problem, you know, that they think that we're all so blind that we will see them as a victim, and actually they don't really care if we see them as a victim, because they just want to pay off regardless. They want to win. It's just a chess game. They want to win, basically. It means very little to them, really, in an emotional sense. And I just haven't wanted to sit into that energy and scrutinize it and feed it back to you the last few days. But I did want to check in with you properly, so that is why I am here. Please do always check my description boxes, because if you do kind of like watching me, I know some of you like listening to my funny little voice, but you can grab a free hypnosis audio. The link is will be in the description box. I will put it in, and it's a full-on 20-minute hypnosis audio about opening up your mind to having a limitless life and considering what you can hope to have out of this life. And yeah, I'd just really like you to consider starting it as a practice. You can do it every day for 3 weeks, because it takes your mind about 3 weeks to get hold of a new idea and get reprogramming new connections up there and get you in that right mindset for manifestation and for prioritizing yourself as well and meeting your own needs first. Yeah, but I always put a few bits and bobs in the description box. You might want to also watch my depression and anxiety masterclass, which is free, completely free, but it talks to you about depression and the sources of depression, and that it's not a chemical imbalance in your brain, that you are not somehow faulty or born faulty or any of these things, that depression is a process, or it's the trauma response, or you've gone inside yourself in order to try and figure something out. But what you don't need is a tablet that is going to cause a chemical imbalance in your brain. And that masterclass is also good if you suffer from low self-esteem, low self-worth, those kinds of things. So I would encourage you to do that. And also to listen to my crazy romance novel if you want as well too. That's a playlist here on YouTube. You can do any of those things just to take you out of yourself and get your mind going in a different way. I'm all about redirecting your mind and changing up your headspace wherever possible. But please do hit that like and subscribe if you can, and share or hype this video if you're watching it on your device. I would love you to hype the video just so I can grow the channel a little bit and see where that gets to. Yeah, but I love hearing from you guys, and I love the kind of characters that have been attracted to my character and have resonated with it. It's proving to be a lot of fun. So sorry there wasn't a lot of Blake and Baldoni news there, but I'm sure you've kind of had it up to here with it at the moment as well, until there's something good that comes along. I guess like we all can't wait now to get to summary judgment stage and actually hear some real evidence. You know, so far what we're hearing, what Blake's thinking is this voluminous evidence that she has. If what we've seen so far is reminiscent of that, it's like, oh, just jog on, lady, jog on. Jog on, as they would say in Hot Fuzz, is it the movie? All right, thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon.